main talking points of the last two races at Darlington and Road America were mainly from the Darlington race. Multiple drivers were put on probation for causing multiple incidents during the race. Independent Rafael Smolzanovic in car 89 was fined $2,500 for being a moving obstacle and failing to yield for the leaders. The same penalty was given to Jacob Lauren in the 80 car. The final penalty was given to both Alex Constantine and Jay Baldy, who were both fined $2,500 for not slowing down for a wreck ahead of them and then plowing into it. The only note from Road America was a warning given to Sincere Fox for punting Garrett Banks off the road with 2 laps to go. Now onto this weekend's race here on the 4th of July weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Qualifying was definitely a show to behold, as many full-time drivers did not qualify for the race. 169 drivers entered to try and qualify for the race, and after 4 grueling days of qualifying, only 42 made it to the final grid. So now let's see who those 42 drivers are, and I'm going to send it up to our pre-race analyst who gets commentator duties today, Dixon Sider. Off to you, Dixon.
Thank you, Jim. It is an honor calling the race today. Now it's time to go over the starting lineup. On the outside of row 21 is Doran Kosovo in the 71 for European domination. And on his inside is Derek Lewis in the 05 for Oil Spill Autosport. Row 20 has Jacob Lauren on the outside, and to his inside, Independence Trophy competitor Fat Cock St. Big Toe. On the outside of row 19 is Rafael Smolzanovic, and to his inside, who's back from his suspension, Max Throwin in the 94. On the outside of row 18 is Henry Thompson, and to his inside, 15-year-old Wes Miller, who's another independent. On the outside of row 17 is Manny Miller making his series debut in car 52. And on his inside is Tavion Cobb, one of the few full-timers in the field. On the outside of row 16 is another debutant in Stevie I. Wonder in car 200, and on his inside is part-timer Kobe Laughlin. On the outside of row 15, the only female driver in the series, Kitty Scott makes her second appearance of the season, and on her inside is Suleiman Wayne in this very interesting looking car number 879 making his series debut. On the outside of row 14 is Mauricio Bertram, a longtime veteran of the series, and on his inside is Austrian Emmerich Steinlechner making his series debut in car 517. On the outside of row 13 is Russ Palmer, and on his inside is 2012 Rejectcar Elite Series champion Kevin Andrews in car 116. On the outside of row 12 is Pat Scurvy, one of the more of the part-timers in the field, and on his inside Giovanni Nixon, the surprise winner at Daytona to start the season. On the outside of row 11 is debutante Gojo Majojo Gogo in car 997, and on his inside is another independent in Durka Durkistan in car number 07. On the outside of row 10 is Dale Tager in the number 23, and on his inside is Zach Churchill in the number 81. On the outside of row 9 is Zaylen Foster, who's been very consistent the last few races, and on his inside is Dongho Hijidadi, representative of South Korea. On the outside of row 8 is the highest of the independents in the field, Jebediah Butterchurner, and on his inside is another debutante in Rigor Mortis, who is the first representative of Chile to make his series debut. On the outside of row 7 is Canadian Xavier Degaris in car number 34, and on his inside is Matthew Washington in the part-time 28 for Night Train Racing. On the outside of row 6 is Joey Davidson, a pretty good run for him so far, and on his inside, Alabama Speedway racing legend Cale Derndart Jr. making his series debut in car 008. On the outside of row 5 is debutant Klaus Vanderheuvel from the Netherlands making his series debut in car 078. And on his inside is Jesse Quinn, who was the final car to go out in single car time trials and put on a hell of a lap to make the show. On the outside of row 4 is John Baldy Jr., who is the highest of the full-time drivers in the field. And on its inside is Scotland's Calix McLaughlin in car number 8. On the outside of row 3 is another Alabama Speedway racing legend, Cale Derndart Sr., also making his series debut in car 003. And to his inside is 2015 series champion Ty Langston in car number 10. On the outside of row 2 is Andy Cummins in the car 213. And on his inside is Billy Bob Backrub, the team owner of Racing Therapy Incorporated in car 79. Starting on the outside of the front row is lead commentator for the Reject Sports Network, Jim Format in car 502, making his series debut. And starting on the pole is Ryan Wilson in the number 90 in the part-time Racing Therapy Incorporated car. And here are the long list of drivers that did not qualify for this race. I was given a note by Jim before he took off to go get in the race car of basically the makeup of the field. 11 full-time drivers out of our 38 made the field. There's 16 part-time drivers, 5 independents made the field, and 10 drivers in this field, which is almost 1/4 of it, are debutantes. As you see, the rest of the did not qualify list. I can't really read most of it, but here you go. I gotta show it anyway. We got a couple big hitters in this race. I think Jareem Abdul-Sagar, Kareem Abdul-Najjar, Garrett Banks. A lot of winners on the season did not make the show. Mateo Valentino's another one on the list. Ballard Christensen did not make the race. Ironically enough, his teammate who just came back from suspension made the race. And that's basically it. But yeah, long list of drivers did not make the show. I think Jim told me it was 127 that did not make the race. But anyway, let's get to the Indianapolis Showdown. As Ryan Wilson paces the field down to the line here, it's him and my buddy Jim Foreman on the front row, waiting for the green flag. Where's the flag man at? And there the green flag is out as we are underway here in Indianapolis. Ryan Wilson and Jim Foreman have a pretty decent drag race going down in turn 1. That's Billy Bob Backrub in the 79 who's trying to make a run on the 90 car. That's actually a car he owns. As Jim Foreman has to check up in turn 2 and he's starting to fall back. That's not a good start for him. Not one bit. As Ryan Wilson leads the field down the long back straightaway on the first lap of the race. I see Ty Langston has moved up to the third place. He's trying to challenge for second. I believe that's Cal McLaughlin, who is running in fourth to start the race. Ryan Wilson pacing the field is a Racing Therapy Incorporated 1-2. Ryan Wilson, the part-timer, and Billy Bob Backrub, the team owner, who only runs the special events. As the 90 and 79 come down the front straightaway here, as Ryan Wilson would lead them to the line. However, we had our first incident of the day. This is debutant Stevie I Wonder in car 200. As he's running towards the back part of the field here, Jordan Cosmo slides up into Manny Miller and puts the 200 into the wall. So not a good start for Mr. Wonder, who's making his first career start in the Rejectcar Elite Series today as he drives away. Here's the 036 of Jesse Quinn. The 44 Joey Davidson makes contact with him and causes a big pileup in turn 1. Multiple cars involved. There's debris all over the place. I think that's Mauricio Bertram in the 93 who was involved. Here's a look from Joey Davidson. He turns to 036 and causes just absolute pandemonium behind him. A lot of cars involved. That's the 23 of Dale Tager, and that's the 81 of Zach Churchill. Joey Davidson's day is done. He's another Racing Therapy car in the field. And there's Stevie I Wonder, who just rear-ended him for no reason. Well, that's going to take Stevie I Wonder out of the race. And here's a shot from Mauricio Bertram's chase camera. He's towards the back part of the field. Wreck happens in front of him, clips the 44 of Joey Davidson, and gets a little tap from the 03 of Jebediah Butterturner. And this is the 879 of Suleiman Wayne, who's also making his series debut as he gets turned by the 12 of Kobe Laughlin. I think the 34 got turned around. The 52 Manny Miller spun around. We'll see what happened to him. He's trying to check up for the wreck, hits the 05, that's Derek Lewis, and hits him again, and that just spins him out as Manny Miller will drive away. There's the 32 of Henry Thompson. trying to get through the wreck as he's now with a group of cars on the front straightaway here. Everybody just trying to make it back to the line. He makes contact with the 25 of Kitty Scott and sends the 89 of Rafael Smolzanovic around. Let's see if we can get a look at what happened to the 89. Here's the 89 of Rafael Smolzanovic. He's just trying to follow back to the caution, and he just becomes a victim of the contact between the 25 and the 32. Gets hit by the 997, and that's going to take Smolzanovic out of the race. So not a good start for him either, as the 89 just putters around on the inside. Under the caution, Ryan Wilson will lead every single car that's still on the lead lap down pit road, except for the 12 of Kobe Laughlin, who decided to stay out to possibly change up his pit strategy as he leads the field back down to the green flag on the lap 6 restart. Ty Langdon in the 10 is now onto the inside of Billy Bob Backrub. He's got Kyle McLaughlin in number 8 in tow. Kobe Laughlin, ironically, is another car from the Racing Therapy camp. So that makes four of those cars in the race. 2 of them have already wrecked. But Kobe Laughlin, who we never hardly ever see on the racetrack, as he attempts very few races this season. But it's nice to see him up front. Here's the 38 of Dong Hoi, Who's Your Daddy, with a little bit of rear end damage, and he's just going to get turned around by the 07 of Durka Stan. I don't know if there's any animosity between them two, but looks like a harmless spin as the 38 will continue on. Here's my buddy Jim Format, who's our usual lead commentator at the Reject Sports Network. And he washes up into Cale Derndark Jr. and gets himself turned around on lap 6. That would bring out the second caution of the day. Looks like minor damage for Jim. It looks like he's going to be able to continue on with no issues. Here's the 40 of Tavion Cobb. Let's see what happened to him. He just clips the 502. That's Jim's car. And then he gets turned around by the 39 of Giovanni Nixon. It looks like minor damage as well for Tavion Cobb as he's going to continue on. Here's Jordan Kosovo, who hooked the 39. And don't know why he did that, as they're trying to come back to the line here. The 16, that's Rigor Mortis, just got turned into him, and there's a big pileup on the first straightaway. Multiple cars involved. There's Durka Stan again. The 997's involved in another wreck. Here he is. This is Gojo Majojo Go-Go. It looks like he just got caught in an accordion effect and just wiped out his front end. I don't think that's going to take him out of the race, but it looks like he's going to continue on. Car's not smoking. If it ain't smoking, it ain't broken. So let's see about that. Here's Manny Miller again. He's trying to get through that wreck. He hits the 71 and then he turns to 997. And then there's the 38 of Dongwei, Who's Your Daddy, just spinning him out. So it looks like the 38 is just getting bullied today. That's the 036 that's behind the 52. So I don't know what's going on there. Kobe Laughlin will lead the field down the pit road once again, just to do, I guess, service on their cars. I don't know why they're pitting so much. And this is from the exit of the pit lane camera. There's Kyle McLaughlin in the A. He's going to win the race off pit road. Remember, Kobe Laughlin brought the field down to pit road. I think he just came out outside the top 10. So not a good pit stop for the 12. And McLaughlin would lead on the lap 11 restart. That's Andy Cummins in the 213 that's restarted in second. And that 517 car, that is Emmerich Steinlechner making his series debut. He's the first driver from Austria to start a Rejectcar Elite Series race. So good on him. And if I remember correctly, He doesn't race ovals. He only races road courses. So this is also his first oval start in his career. So I think he's doing a good job already, as McLaughlin still holds the lead as he started to pull away from everybody else. But McLaughlin's another driver who doesn't race on ovals hardly at all. There's Giovanni Nixon in the 39 as he's going to wash up into Billy Bob Backrub, and Jacob Warren spins across track, and then he gets flipped over by the 16 of Rigor Mortis. That would take Giovanni Nixon out of the race. Cale Derndardt Sr. in the 003 was also involved. This is the onboard shot from the 16 car. There's smoke up ahead, just nowhere to go. Hits the 39 right in the driver's door, flips him over. And then Rigor Mortis gets spun around by somebody else. I couldn't figure out who that was. Mortis will have to come in for repairs as you see Cale Derndardt Sr. drive away. The leaders will pit again on lap 13. This will be their third pit stop of the race so far. We haven't even made it 13 laps yet, which is like 1/5 of the race, I think. Todd Langdon would lead the field off pit road, and he would lead on the lap 16 restart with Kyle McLaughlin in second. That is Matthew Washington in third in the 28, and Kitty Scott, the only female driver, restarted in fourth, so a great start for her. Todd Langston washes up in turn 2. Here comes the 8 of Kyle McLaughlin. Langston hits the wall. Matthew Washington thought about making it 3 wide, but backed out of it, as Kyle McLaughlin is now going back to take the lead. McLaughlin completes the pass coming into turn 3 and trying to pull away as he gets into turn 4 here. As Matthew Washington is now trying to work on the 10 of Todd Langdon. Over just behind them, Kitty Scott in the 25 comes down pit road. I believe this was an unscheduled pit stop for her. Could be a tire going down, possibly ran over some debris. So, unfortunate circumstance there for Kitty Scott. There's Henry Thompson again. He's running around 15th here. Just trying to have a little bit of rebound here. Makes contact with the 517. Bounces off Jim and then gets turned around by the 94 and the 919. Goes spinning to the inside wall. This didn't bring out the caution because Thompson was off track when the spin took place. So the officials did not think it was necessary to throw the yellow there, as Thompson's going to drive away. Here's the 34 of Xavier DeGaris. The 94 Max Trethrowen swerved up in front of him and buckled his front end. Jebediah Butterturner in the 03 nearly got turned around, but managed to save the car. So, good piece of driving by Jebediah. Now, as for the 34 of Xavier, that damage is going to hamper him for the rest of the day. Here's Todd Langston. This is on lap 17. He's got to come down pit road as well. I don't believe this pit stop was scheduled either. Possible another tire going down. As you can see, the 07, 03, and 34 coming down pit road. They were coming down to make repairs. Here's Kobe Laughlin, who was leading earlier. Almost gets turned around by the 078, but that's a Klaus Vanderhoovel, who was also making his series debut. Kobe Laughlin caught the car, managed to save it, so good piece of driving by him. And here's the roof shot from Klaus Vanderhoovel, the driver from the Netherlands. He almost just wrecked the 12 for really no reason, but no harm, no foul. Everybody continues on with no issue. Callus McLaughlin in the 8 is having a career day as he's leading on an oval. McLaughlin is not an oval driver as he's from Scotland. He's a road course racer, but it seems like he's taken to the ovals quite well, at least here in Indianapolis. And he's been taking care of his equipment, and been rewarding him with, leading the laps during the race. Here is Pat Scurvy as we're focused on. He's driving the 919. Looks like they're going 3 wide on the front straightaway here, and it just doesn't work. Jebediah Butterturner turns him around on the front straightaway. That will bring up the 4th caution of the day on lap 20. Scurvy got minimal damage, so he's going to continue on. But I'm pretty sure he's not going to be too happy about that and being turned around by the 03. And Kyle McLaughlin would bring the leaders down pit road for another more service on their cars to make sure they can make it to the end of the race. Kyle McLaughlin would lead the field down to the green flag on the lap 25 restart. Matthew Washington in second, and John Baldy Jr. is up to 3rd place. As you see a bunch of cars restart to the inside. Todd Langston, who was just restarting the top 5 a couple laps ago, got caught a lap down due to him making that unscheduled pit stop. But now he's gotten past the 8 car, and he has now gotten himself on the tail and lead lap. And there's a wreck in the back. Well, actually, that helps the 10 of Ty Langston. Here's the 116 of Kevin Andrews, just minding his own business, and just gets turned around by the 078 of Klaus Vanderhoevel after Vanderhoevel had hit the 517 of Emmerich Steinlechner. As Kevin Andrews drives away, the 2012 series champion, who's made every overcapacity event on the season so far. So it's nice to see him. It's still raced every once in a while. Kyle McLaughlin would lead on the lap 30 restart. Colby Laughlin in second, and Cale Derndart Sr. is in 3rd. As McLaughlin's going to have to hold off Max Verstappen in the 94. As Verstappen's trying to get back on the lead lap. But Colby Laughlin, Verstappen got a little aggressive there, and there goes a car around behind the leaders. This is Durka standing in the 07. He's trying to make his way through. Kitty Scott just hooked him around. Guess he wasn't going fast enough. He's going to slide up back to the racetrack, and I think he got hit by Tavion Cobb in the 40, and that's going to end Durka's day. Here's the 25 of Kitty Scott, who just turns the 07 around, but then she gets turned around by the 03 of Jebediah Butterturner, and goes into the outside wall, and there's the 40 of Tavion Cobb. Todd Langston in the 10 just plowed straight into Cobb as well. And here's a shot looking at the 40 of Tavion Cobb, who's running with a group of cars towards the back end of the field. Just nowhere to go. Clips the 07, and pretty hard hit into the slow stall 25 car. That was a head-on collision. Thankfully, all the drivers would be okay once they got out of their cars. Here's Emmerich Steinlechner, and he just clipped the 07 of Durka stand that completely ripped off the left front fender. Here's Manny Miller in the 52, just nowhere to go, couldn't avoid the wreck as he's going to drive away here. However, as he goes down the back straightaway, the engine decides to die on him, and that will take Manny Miller out of the race. Tough break for him. As Cale Derndart Sr., who actually took the lead away on just before the last caution had come out, leads the leaders down pit road. It's the first time Cale Derndart Sr. has led the race. However, after pit stops, Klaus Vanderhoevel, who's kind of caused 2 wrecks today, is the leader on the restart, with Russ Palmer, who started in second, and Vanderhoevel gets a great jump off the line. As Vanderhoevel drives off into turns 1 and 2 with no competition, as Henry Thompson and Jebediah Butterturner are a lap down. Sullivan Wayne, who has moved himself up to 3rd place after pit stops, unfortunately is really slow off the line, and everybody is driving right by him. There's no damage hardly on the 879 car, that very colorful looking car. I think that's just different colored panels on the ride. But he's still in the lead lap. It's just unfortunate that this seems that car's just not very competitive. Here's John Body Jr. in a 48 who's looking for some good points. He makes contact with the 220 of Wes Miller and nearly causes a wreck, but is able to save the car and continue on. Kobe Laughlin's going to jump into the pit. Looks like just a little bit of right front damage for John Body Jr. He's not too happy with the 220 of Wes Miller. And we're back up with Klaus Vanderhoovel, who is still pulling away from the rest of the field. From my notes here, Vanderhoovel is a Dutch touring car driver who this was his, I think this is his second attempt at a Rejectcar Elite Series race. And his first on an oval. And he made the race, started in the top 10, and now he's leading the race. So Klaus Vanderhoovel in his debut could be possible in contention to steal an upset. Matthew Washington in the 28th also having a great run. He's running in third place right now. He is the reserve driver for the Night Train Racing team. Both of his teammates, Gustavo Silva Rodriguez and Ashton Russell, both failed to qualify for the race. So Washington is the only representative of the team in the field, and he's giving a great show for them, as he's now being challenged by Ryan Wilson in the 90, who's been pretty quiet ever since his after he started on the pole. Been kind of falling in and out of the top 10. And here's my buddy Jim Formack making his series debut in car 502. He had a couple incidents already, but the car's still running. He got a little bit of left side damage, but Jim is doing really well in his debut. He mainly entered this race kind of as a joke. He wasn't expecting to actually qualify for the race. However, in time trials, he put down the fastest lap to make it into the field of 42. So that car has some actual speed. It's just unfortunate he got damaged, because if he didn't have it, he might be in contention to win the race, as he started on the outside pole. But it's nice to see Jim having fun out there, even though I would like to have him in the booth with me. We've talked about Cale Derndardt Sr., but here's his son, Cale Derndardt Jr., who's having a great run today. He's running inside the top 10. Him and his father made their first attempts here, and both of them made it. Both of them qualify really well. So, having a father-son running inside the top 10 is something we don't see very often. They are one of the older father-son combos that at least have racing in this series. But with Cale Derndardt Jr., he's just been running a clean race. He's been involved in, I believe, one incident, and he's probably going to get a top 10 finish out of it in this 008 car. Very, very bright red, almost confusing with John Body Jr., who's running right behind him. Back up front with Klaus Vanderhoovel, our leader. There's Cale Derndardt Sr., who's now trying to reel him in, and he brought the 28 of Matthew Washington with him. However, Washington was trying to make a pass. It didn't work, as Cale Derndardt Sr. trying to make a run on the 078. Doesn't seem like he can get the momentum to pull alongside him and get the lead away from him. He's still on his tire tracks. He's getting the draft down the back straightaway. Will he make a move going into three, or is he just going to wait behind him? Yeah, he's peaking, but no, he overdrives turn 3. That allows Vanderhoovel to get away from him. We'll see if the 003 will make a way around. Oh, here comes the 078, Klaus Vanderhoovel. He's going to make his final pit stop of the day. He's going to bring Matthew Washington, Ryan Wilson. That's Wes Miller and Billy Bob Backrub also coming in as well. So it looks like everybody's going to make their final pit stops of the day to make it to the finish. And here's Cale Derndardt Sr., who's trying to put Matthew Washington a lap down, since the 003 stayed out, but he will forego it, and he's going to come into the pits to make his final pit stop. There's his son, Cale Earnhardt Sr. They've been on the same strategy all race. John Baldy Jr. and Henry Thompson have also come down pit road. So, looks like most of the leaders are just trying to wrap their strategies up. And here's the 003 coming out of the pits. We're waiting to see where he comes out in regards with the 078 Klaus Vanderhoevel, as Cale Earnhardt Sr. is trying to get up to speed on the warm-up lane. Still waiting on the 078 here. We'll see where he comes out. There's the 078 of Klaus Vanderhoevel, and he's gotten past the 003 along with the 28 of Matthew Washington. So Cale Earnhardt Sr. has now kicked himself back to 4th place because Russ Palmer was the leader, but now he just got passed by the 078 and has lost the lead. So a gamble by the 003 team, it just didn't work out. Klaus Vanderhoevel has now reclaimed the lead of the race with about 13 laps to go. And knowing how strung out the field is, I would not expect a caution to come out anytime soon, unless it's for like a single car spin or possibly for debris. As Vanderhoevel is definitely shocking the field, being a road course guy, leading at an oval, and possibly going to steal a win as long as he holds on to the car. However, he's got lap traffic to deal with, as he's catching the 96 of Fat Cock Saint Big Toe, as he's going to try to get by him on the front straightaway here. And Saint Big Toe is not giving him any problems. And here comes whoa! The 96 almost just chopped off the 28 of Matthew Washington. I don't think he's too happy about that. He may have shook his fist at him as he drove by. But no harm, no foul for the 28, and the 13 of Russ Palmer is hanging on with him. Just a few laps later, they're going to catch another lap car. That is the 879 of Suleiman Wayne. He has no damage. He's just been kind of off pace rested for most of the race. As Vanderhoevel just trying to set him up. However, he backed off a little too much because the 28 got to his back bumper. And the 078 is just going to blow right by him. Here comes Washington and Russ Palmer. This is the closest the 28 and the 13 have been to Vanderhoevel in a couple of laps. As Vanderhoevel still holding a straight wheel, but the 28 and 13 are right on him as they're trying to peek out and force it maybe 2 and 3 wide down the back straightaway here. That's Kevin Andrews in the 116 with no hood. As Vanderhoevel's going to leave Matthew Washington to the outside. What a move for Vanderhoevel to kind of hold the 28 out to dry. And he's going to leave the Washington and Palmer to deal with the 116. As Vanderhoevel's going to try to scoot away from him and get as big as a lead as he can so he doesn't have to deal with them for the last few laps of the race. But a great veteran move by Vanderhoevel. That's something you don't see too much from rookies, so looks like someone taught him how to drive the racetrack. And here's Klaus Vanderhoevel. This is, I believe, 2 laps to go coming up. Russ Palmer's in second. He's been trying to hunt him down for the last few laps. And Palmer was, despite having his rear bumper kind of pushed in a little, he's been running pretty consistent lap times comparable to the 078. Matthew Washington is still there as well. So if Vanderhoevel makes a mistake, you can expect either the 13 or 28 to take advantage and take the lead away from him. They said this is coming to 2 laps to go. Well, actually, no, we're about to come to the white flag this time by. As Vanderhoevel comes off turn 4 here. However, Russ Palmer's day is going to end early. He runs out of fuel coming to the white flag. And he'll have to pit for fuel. A tough break for Russ Palmer, who was looking for a podium finish, but unfortunately the gas tank just denied him. As Klaus van der Heuvel has taken the white flag, he is less than 2.5 miles away from scoring his first career Rejectcar Elite Series victory in his debut. He just got to hold on to make sure the fuel will last to the finish. Matthew Washington, the 28, will be there to pass him should the 078 possibly run out of fuel. As van der Heuvel is going pretty smoothly through turns 3 and turn 4. All he has to do is make this final corner and he's home free. And covering off turn 4 down the front straightaway, Dutch driver Klaus van der Heuvel will take his first career victory in the Rejectcar Elite Series in his series debut. Matthew Washington comes home in second. But a great job by the 078 team. And here are the results. Klaus van der Heuvel wins the race, his win in his series debut. Matthew Washington comes home in second. Cale Derndardt Jr. comes home in third. So great rebound for Cale Derndardt. Andy Cummins comes home in a quiet fourth place. Ryan Wilson, the pole sitter, comes home with a top 5, so great day for him. Cale Derndardt Jr. comes home in sixth, so that puts both Cale Derndardt Incorporated cars in the top 10. John Baldy Jr. is the highest finishing full-timer that made the race, so he's going to get a lot of points because of that. Jim Format, my buddy, comes home with a top 10 in his debut, so congratulations, Jim. Max Strathone comes home in 9th, and round out the top 10, Wes Miller, the 15-year-old, for WHN Incorporated. And here's the 11th through 20th. Billy Bob Baccarat comes home in 11th. Russ Palmer, after running out of fuel, will have to settle for 12th place. Pat Scurvy comes home in 13th, in a pretty quiet day despite being turned around a couple of times. Jordan Kosovo had some damage. He came home in 14th. Kevin Andrews, despite missing his hood, comes home in 15th. Suleiman Wayne didn't have any damage on his car, but just the pace wasn't there, so he still came home in top 20 though. He came home in 16th. Pat Cox named Big Toe also had no hood. He came home in 17th. Henry Thompson, 18th. Callis McLaughlin, I don't know what happened to him. He was leading the race through the early stages, but he fell down the order and ends up with 19th. Pretty disappointing result, despite the great start he had to the race. And coming on with 20th was Colby Laughlin, another guy who led the race early, but just fell down the order for some reason. And I'm getting word that my buddy Jim Format is about to be back in the booth, so he's going to take over for the rest of this bit. So I'm glad to have him back, and I know he's probably going to be exhausted after being in that car all day. So, here he is now. He's walking through the door, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thanks, Dixon. Yeah, that race was definitely something. But it's nice to be back in the booth. More air conditioning up here. But thank you for taking over. I greatly appreciate it. Now that I'm back in the booth, let's go over the point standings after Indianapolis. And here they are. Being one of the very few full-time drivers who made the race, John Baldy Jr. has a pretty good points lead after Indianapolis. He has 43 points over Russ Palmer. Bryce Fencing didn't qualify for the race, so he dropped 2 spots. Alex Constantine also failed to qualify, so he dropped to 4th. Jordan Kosovo jumps up 10 spots to 5th in points. Zeke Miller, Valor Christensen didn't make the race. Zaylen Foster is 8th. Gustavo Silva Rodriguez at 9th. He also didn't qualify. And Keon Parker falls to 10th in points. Yeah, most of these guys in the top 10 didn't make the race. And here's 11th through 20th. You can probably tell who made the race at Indianapolis and who didn't just by who's moved up the points ladder and who's moved down. Garrett Banks, Kareem Abdul-Najjar didn't make the race, so they dropped spots. Jacob Lauren did make the race, however, he didn't gain too many points, but he still moved up 4 spots to 13th. Dareem Abdul-Sagar and Cooper Kiev dropped positions. Joey Davidson made the race, but he went out on lap 1 and didn't score many points, so he didn't even move positions at all. Clay Marcellus is 17th in points. Jay Baldy also didn't make the race along with the 01, but Jay Baldy didn't move any positions. And making the race, Dong Hui Who's Your Daddy and Tavion Cobb were able to move up spots. They both jumped into the top 20, with Dong Hui in 19th and Tavion Cobb in 20th. And here are the independent standings after Indianapolis. Wes Miller has regained the points lead, and this was his final race on his independent schedule. So he has completed his 5 races and he sits at 158 points. Everybody else below him has at least 1 or more starts to try and knock him off. Tommy Salami is technically the closest, but Salami's next start isn't until, I believe, closer to the end of the season. But he's in second, Barrett Cervantes is third, Jabroni Pepperoni is in fourth. Fatcock St. Big Toe got a pretty good points haul. He jumped up 10 spots to 5th. T Scorpio didn't make the race, he fell. Rafael Smolzanovic, despite going out of the race kind of early, is now up to 7th in points. Zebediah Wheat Farmer, Tony Bologna didn't make the race. Jebediah Bunner Charter did make the race and jumped up 8 spots. He's now 10th. I think he has 3 races, or yeah, he's got 3 races left to go, so he still has plenty of time to move up the points ladder. And Durker Durkerstan was one of the final independents to make the race, and he's up 5 points. However, he's still going to need a lot if he wants to challenge for the independent title. Other than that, that's pretty much all I can say with the independents. But Wes Miller's independent schedule is done. Everybody else below him still has at least 1 or more races to go to catch him. After our stop in Indianapolis, we're going to move back to the multi-race highlights. Next time, the Rejectcar Elite Series races 17 through 19 will be shown here on the Reject Sports Network. I want to thank my cohort Dixon Sider for taking over commentary duty since I was racing today, and I hope he kept y'all entertained. This has been Jim Format for the Reject Sports Network. See you then! If you have enjoyed the Rejectcar Elite Series and want to watch more races, click here to watch the playlist of the season so far. If you want to keep up with the series and don't want to miss a race, please consider subscribing by clicking here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.